Hey guys, on here, welcome back. Last night I went and saw Alien Romulus, and I'm happy to report that I thought it was pretty darn solid. Is it without its faults? Not at all, but overall, it's a really solid entry in the Alien franchise. You know, for me personally, I mean, Prometheus is kind of a little bit of a different beast. It's almost difficult to even kind of rope it in because it's so, I mean, it's obviously in the same universe, and there's a lot of aesthetic elements that carry over, but it's very much so trying to do its own thing. So, like, incorporating that, it's always kind of weird putting it up against some of the other ones that are a little more genre heavy. So, like, for me, like, you really don't get better than Alien and Aliens. And for me, I also have a hard time putting one of those even over the other, because really, depending on my mood and what I'm kind of feeling in the moment, I could switch those up at any point. You don't really run into that a lot of time with an original film as well as its sequel, of all things. It's one of those rare instances where the sequel definitely gives the original a run for its money. And since then, it's similar to the same issue that I have with the Terminator franchise. It's never really been able to replicate that after that second entry. While I can't say that I would put it above Alien or Aliens by any stretch, I do think it is the best Alien film that has come out since Aliens. And it is almost, in a way, like a tribute to the entire franchise. Like, even the campier elements and some of the elements that did not work so well in other Alien films, they managed to kind of homage and do their own little spin on it here. And again, I'm going to try to talk about this movie without any kind of spoilers, but even some of the things that I feel like I definitely had a problem with in some of the other Aliens films, they were able to do in a different kind of way here, and it worked a lot better. This movie is very much so like a love letter or a tribute or even a remix, if you will, cover song, if you will, of basically the entire franchise. There are elements it is pulling from all over the place, all throughout this film. Some in your face, some not so much. Like, some, if you're only just paying attention to the details in the background, there's some elements too, and that's just including the games as well. There's some elements of Alien Isolation that is even pulling into this, if you got a keen eye on you. This movie feels like it fits in with the universe. It doesn't really feel like it's popping in and out, and even some of the more distant, I'd say, entries, this is able to kind of incorporate even some of those elements in here that make sense with what we have come to know about this franchise, and even linking it back to its roots. This film is set definitively between the events of Alien and Aliens, and then also expands upon a lot of other things that have been set up through various other points in the franchise in a really organic way. Our setting is on a Weyland-Yutani mining colony on this planet, somewhere we haven't been before. And again, another extension of Weyland-Yutani that we get to kind of explore and get to just kind of see. Just again, we know, if we've been watching this franchise or any of these films for a while now, and even if you're not, the movie does a really great job at like filling you in. So like, this is going to be one of those things, as much as I'm talking about legacy and the connections to the franchise, I feel like somebody who has never seen an Alien movie can go into this and it'll cover everything just fine enough to get you through to the end, and I think you'll have a really good time. But again, like, building on all of the nasty, disgusting ways that Weyland-Yutani is just the pseudo corporation that just kind of weasels its way into every aspect of life, and the fact that this colony, where these people that reside there work for the company and all this, it kind of is reminiscent of the old mining cities and towns that would come up and crop up around the mines, where they would kind of have their own currency, they would have their own shops. Like, everything you would do and every kind of exchange you would have would be with the company itself. These kids, I'd call them kids, they're like young adults, in their attempt to kind of get around some of the red tape that is keeping them from fulfilling their duties, they stumble upon one of Weyland-Yutani's little dark secrets. What ensues is an amalgamation of every element of the franchise. You know, it starts off nice, moody, creepy, very Alien. One of my nitpicks is that we don't live long enough in that mood, in that Alien, we're being hunted, you know, we got to watch ourselves exploring this place, and, you know, living in that kind of dread long enough. Like, it does kind of jump the gun into Aliens a little too quickly than I would have liked it. But all the same, all the sequences in this are unique, are engaging. I feel like the face huggers are a threat in this, and I love what they did with that as well. It's hard to talk about this without going into any spoilers, but once we hit that aliens territory, though, that is where it is full on survival mode, and it is nonstop chaos until the end credits, man. And I enjoyed the entire way. I liked what they've done with this. I love the way they've expanded upon the lore and the way that they've kind of built things out. I love getting to see more of the scuzziness that is Weyland-Yutani. The look of the film is astounding. The budget isn't all that high for a movie like this. I think it's like floating around somewhere between 80 million to 100 million. And the majority of this film is practically done, and it looks fantastic, man. The little glimpses of CGI that they do sprinkle in throughout this are all used expertly, I think, throughout the mix of it, and it never really takes you out of it. And it's one of those situations where it's very much so like the original Jurassic Park. The CGI is only used to complement what is already there, and I think they nailed it for how this is done in the kind of modern age. I love the way they pulled that together. And again, the sets, the art direction of this entire place really just kind of sets it very much so in the era of those old films. You know, everything just looks like it fits in the aesthetic of these space stations, the Geiger-esque elements. They are just all knocking it out of the park with this, all the way down to the sound design that coincides with that. I love the way they just kind of use the sound elements to kind of build up the mood in this movie as well. And I'm gonna say, like, I was exhausted going to see this movie. Like, when I went out, I was like, I don't have any other time to see this. I am so tired right now. But this movie kept me engaged the entire way through. I did not want to pass out. I did not want to close my eyes. I was locked in. Also, movie's super gory. Really love that. Again, between now this and then, you know, Deadpool and Wolverine, I'm glad to see that Disney's not afraid, now that they own some of these things, to just kind of let things be what they're meant to be. I'm glad there's not that much interference on that front with stuff like this, and I hope we see that continue forward. Also, I remember this was originally supposed to go to Hulu as a Hulu original, just like with Prey, and there was another one that they sent straight to streaming that I'm blanking on right now. But I'm glad they made the jump. I think they learned their lesson after Prey, which, oh my god, that should have been in theaters. That's so good. You can check out my reaction to that. That was great. That was phenomenal. But yeah, I think they made the right decision throwing this out in theaters, and yeah, so good on you, Disney. I'll give you credit when it's due. There's also some really creative action sequences throughout this that I really, really enjoyed. There's particularly one that involves zero gravity and something else that has been a mainstay of the franchise, and the way that they kind of incorporate that into this kind of dread-inducing little action sequence and set piece was really, really creative, and I loved what they did with that. Just the machinations of the space station in general and the setting that they find themselves in, I think they utilize it quite well. Our leads, Cailee Spaeny and David Jonsson, I think do a really good job at carrying this film, and especially the emotional through line of this film. And I do have to say that I think the standout performance-wise has to go to David Jonsson, man. There's so many little nuances and changes and tweaks to the performance that happen throughout the evolution of his character's journey throughout this story that is just wild to watch, and I love what he did with it. He did a great job with his character, and the dynamic between those two I really found very interesting, especially given this setting and all that. Fortunately, the rest of the cast, they don't really bring a whole lot to the table, and not nearly as much as those two. I found everybody else as kind of being a little bit of an archetype for the most part. And that's fine, because they're there to fulfill a role, and the story's really about what's happening on this space station and what is going on between our two leads here, and the story and the mysteries that they're unraveling, the deeper and deeper that they find themselves going down this rabbit hole. Now, there are a couple of member-bearing moments in here. As much as I'm talking about a little Easter eggs and callbacks and nuggets to all kinds of different things, there are two big ones that are just almost eye-rolling in the way that they kind of introduce them. One is very ethically weird. You'll know when you see it. It's not something unfamiliar to Disney. It's things they've done in the past. This one, completely unnecessary. Didn't need to be in there. And honestly, raises some more questions for the fact that it is. And then the other thing is just there's a line, a famous line from the series that gets thrown out for no fucking reason. And it just makes absolutely no sense for it to be said in that moment either. And it's it's one of those moments where I felt like maybe like these were studio notes or whatever. They're like, we need more callbacks. We need more direct things to link it to the other films or whatever. It just like, I would have been perfectly okay not having any of that. But one is just like an awkwardly stated quote from the franchise that gets thrown out. And the other one, though, however, is very much so integrated into the plot and comes back repeatedly throughout the run of the course after it's been introduced. And it literally could have been anything else, and it would have worked just fine. There's no need to have made it a reference to get across what they were trying to do. I know what they were doing. I know why they did it. It's a very controversial thing that they've done as well by doing it this way, where they could have avoided all of that and just had literally anything else to fill that gap. Anyway, again, like you'll know what I'm talking about when you've seen the film. We'll leave it at that. Outside of that, once we get to the third act, it just gets full on bananas. And I think at that point, this is where it's going to be a little divisive, because when it gets a little bananas, it gets really bananas. Personally, I enjoyed it, even though some elements of it give me a little bit of a chuckle, but it's bringing together a lot of these things that I feel like the franchise has gotten a little ashamed of over the years, and it managed to pull it off in a very grounded in-universe kind of way to make all this kind of come together. But I'm sure that there's still going to be a little bit of a hump for a lot of people to get over when it comes to the finale of this film. But overall, I really enjoyed the film. Outside of those criticisms, I still found the film very enjoyable. I think it all come together quite well, despite those little things that I had a teeny bit of a hang up with. All that aside, this film was a really solid entry in the franchise. I hope we get to see Fede tackle another one of these. I really enjoyed his Evil Dead. We were supposed to get another one of those. That went nowhere, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But guys, have you seen Alien Romulus? If you have, what did you think? Let me know your thoughts down below. We'll carry the conversation after the video. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe if you're not already. And before you go, I want to shout out our channel legends. Man, to share it, your course, Scott Melita, Robert Anguiano, Jeffrey L, Jane Contrell, Eric Official, Casey Wood, and Russell Crockett. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. That's it for this video, guys. I'm going to see you all in the next one. Take care, everybody.